Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to take a look at the ROG Ally X Xbox edition. So it's basically the Ally X2 but with a lot of Microsoft and Xbox co-branding. There is a lot for us to cover with this. Now, there are going to be two models. You get the X and the non-X. I've got the X, so I am going to focus on that. The cheaper model does come with a lower spec though, and if you want to take a look at the different specs, you can go and have a look on the OC3D website, but effectively the prices are going to be $599 and $999. Now, I can say that this is obviously the X, so this is $999, and I have had a look. And it's on pre-order at the moment at Scan for $799 Great British Beer tokens. So we are still in favour at the moment of the exchange rate. How long that will last, we never know. But lots of specs to cover, and although this is a handheld, because it does run natively on Windows 11, what I have done is treated it like a system. So I've looked at all sorts, including clock speeds, hard drive speeds, download speeds, done normal benchmarks with it as I would have done with games and the like. But I obviously do want to cover a lot about the usability with it for you as well. Now, they did say that they wanted to spend a lot of time listening to end users with this. And I generally believe that they have done, because I've actually really enjoyed using it. And just simple things like the weight was such a big shock to me. Now, they say it is just 750 grams. And yes, I did have to look the number up. But if I'm honest, when you're using it, it is so very light. To the point it almost feels... I don't want to say cheap, because that is definitely the wrong word, but the first time you pick it up, you don't think it's going to be very capable, because it is literally so light and easy to use. Obviously, it's a bit heavier than your phone, but it's so well spread and balanced that you don't particularly notice it. They did say that they've worked really hard on the cooling as well. I've not found the cooling fans on this intrusive at all, and I've been using this a lot of the time with the audio turned down, although when you do turn it up, it's faced straight towards you because the speakers are directly on the front. Now, we do need to cover a lot on this, because obviously it's got very sort of Xboxy buttons, but there are things that I do want to cover like early on, if I'm honest. Including some hints for like screenshots and stuff, because I actually found that quite frustrating to start off with. But we do need to cover the specs, and you'll see that I do keep plugging it back in, but it's just out of habit now more than anything else. But this is something else that we'll cover, is the performance difference between the battery and the mains is actually quite stark, and we've tested both. Now, the specs for it are, with the X2, it does say that it's an up to 5 gigahertz, 8-core, 16-thread processor. And it's got an XDNA NPU, which has got up to 50 tops. And then it's AMD Radeon graphics. Now, the AMD Radeon graphics is RDNA 3.5. which I'm going to say very early on is quite strange, because we've obviously got desktop RDNA 4 available right now. So it does feel like it's a little bit later on. And the other thing is where it hasn't got RDNA 4 off the get-go, that means we don't have any access to FSR4 either. So that might be something that we'll be watching to see if AMD make FSR4 capable or compatible with the older graphics cards, because at the moment it is locked out on this. But obviously, where it's Windows 11, it is going to be something that they can possibly port in. Now, the model I've got has a 1 terabyte hard drive built in, and weirdly the hard drive speeds are different depending on whether you have it on battery or mains as well, and that was something I found quite stark. The other side of it is, so 1 terabyte, I'll just bring it up for you now. On mains, it's PCI Express 4, not particularly fast for PCI Express 4, but it's there. And then with the battery, you do lose an awful lot of hard drive speed. Obviously, they've got to make power savings, and they make power savings heavily. One of the places that I noticed that they do make heavy power savings is the DRAM, because they downclock the DRAM massively when it's on the desktop or not being particularly used. It is a feature with LPDDR5, but how much they turn it down was quite an eye-opener. So just with CPU-Z, for example, you do see that it's just saying just below 800 megahertz, but it's actually 8,000 megahertz RAM. So technically that should be saying in CPU-Z, that should be reading 4,000. Obviously at the desktop with just GPU-Z open, that was the result that I've got. We did do some testing with the Wi-Fi, because it's Wi-Fi 6E. Now, we were getting around the sort of 675, 700 megabits per second mark on the Wi-Fi. Average download speeds did drop below 500, but obviously you're only ever going to be at the limits of your the slowest server, so it's not necessarily your internet that's at fault. But we did see around the sort of where it was above 650, pushing to 700 with the right download on Steam. Now, there are lots of things that we can talk about. Like I said, the DRAM, which is 8,000 megahertz, there's 24 gigabyte of it in here. But I want to show you the actual system itself. And it is rather beautiful. Your hands do fit in it very easily. Got the Xbox button up here. This is going to be a button that you are going to want to use a lot. That's your menu button. When you're in games, if you can't move through the menus, then you will need to use the bumper buttons, because that's pretty much the thing that I have learnt the most. There are 2 extra buttons around here. And I'll be honest, with the games that I've been playing while I've been testing, the only reason why I've been using these buttons around the back is to do screenshots. And that was something that took me a while to get my head round, because what you have to do is press the one of the buttons and sometimes both of the buttons, and then press A to take a screenshot. It is game dependent, but that was something that once I worked that out, it made my life a lot easier, because obviously I've had to take a lot of screenshots to be able to show you bits and bobs. I have turned the lighting back on because I've had it on for quite a while and it had turned it off. It must have been doing like a power saving mode, or because I had been going between battery and main so much. So other things to note, there are lights around here, and you've got a little one that's not lit up at the moment, and effectively that's for when you're charging. So if we plug that in, it will come back on. There you go, you can see it's gone white because it's fully charged. It's orange when it's charging. You've got 2 USB-Cs. Now you've got the main power one, but it is also USB 4. So it's got like DisplayPort connector and stuff in there as well. So you have got the ability to be able to connect that into your desktop if you wanted to. So you could connect it to a monitor. I would probably end up connecting this into a hub, HDMI, then into a monitor. Talking about monitors, this is actually 1080p. It is LCD, but the colours on it are amazing. So no, it's not OLED, but Asus are very fastidious with their screens, and if you've ever had an Asus monitor, you'll know that they work really hard on the colour profiles and stuff. And it is up to 500 nits as well. It's touchscreen. The fact it's not OLED probably was a power choice more than anything else. You do have the volume here for your obviously your volume, but if you have a headset, and that's where the second USB does come in handy, is that you can have that connected to a headset the whole time if you want, or there is a port over here for headphone and microphone. There's a memory card slot just up here. Power switch up here also doubles up as a fingerprint reader for security when you've to sign in. So every time I sign in with this, I have to put my finger on the top and then it signs me into Windows. So I don't have to do any annoying sort of passwords or anything like that. There's no webcam on it, so you can't do your face. The only front-facing thing that it does have is a tiny microphone up here, but that, for more than anything else, is for the AI sound. I would say sound deadening, but it's for so you can reduce the background noise and stuff like that. Obviously, like I said, it is touchscreen, so you can zoom in and out and bring all the menus up and stuff, and I have been just fingerprint bringing up the games that I've wanted. Now, I don't normally have so many things on the desktop, but for this you want them at easy reach. One of the things that is cool on the desktop though is the fact that you can have this readout, and it's basically just so that you can keep an eye on your system specs, temperatures, FPS, and you can move it around. You can have it so that it's like a line, but I wanted it nicely so that I can have it at the top of the system, because then it's out the way, but then I can keep an eye on it while I'm gaming. And it is very handy while you're gaming as well, because as I have said to you, the performance is different from when you are wired to when you have it on battery. And that was one of the things we wanted to specifically look at. Now, we have looked at several different games to be able to look at the performance difference between the two, and as you can see, there is a noticeable difference between them. Now, with Modern Warfare, we did that without FSR, because the actual FSR options, it seemed to tend to really turn up the image scaling on it, so we ended up with it was about 60%. So what we wanted to do is just run it at 1080p native in high, so that we could get an idea on the frames per second that we were getting. And we were also tested Cyberpunk, F1. There was other games that we did that you can go and check on the OC3D website. But although there was a performance drop-off, it wasn't monumental. You weren't getting half the frame rate, which was a really nice thing to be able to say. Now, performance on battery, yes, you do get a lower battery, you do get a lower hard drive speed, you do get much lower system specs as well, system specs clock speeds, but we were roughly getting around 20 to 30 frames per second less on battery. But when you are gaming on battery, with F1 we did have 2 hours and 45 minutes of continual gameplay on a single charge. Now, the only thing that I did find quite frustrating is when I plugged it in to charge it, you don't get any thing pop up on the screen to tell you how long it's going to take for the battery to charge, I guess. So the battery charge is faster. But it would have been nice, mainly because I wanted to be able to tell you how long. And in reality, the thing was that it probably took just over an hour for a complete charge. Now, it does have its own 65 watt charger, and I did want to see if there was much of a difference between using this and a fairly toasty or fairly meaty mobile phone charger. Now, I've got a 60 watt mobile phone charger, and the charging time when on the desktop, so it was being used, went from being sort of 2.5 hours to charge it, to the mobile phone charger went up to over 5 hours difference. So using this as your mains charger definitely makes a marked difference. I did try it with my large Anker portable battery charger. I can't remember the amp hours on it, but it's a fairly meaty brick. And that was actually faster than my phone charger. So that was going to charge it in about 3.5 hours, it was saying. But I really don't think that that's very bad, considering obviously the unit was on at that point in time anyway. One of the things that we did think about as well, we have covered the M.2, was upgrades. And it is an M.2 2280 form factor. So it's the common M.2 size, which means it is going to be easily upgradable. But it did raise questions with it having so much Asus kind of Xbox co-branding, in that if we were to do a full install, because if you upgrade the hard drive, you're going to need to do a full install, and will the Asus Armoury crate install itself as the correct one for the Ally, and will it then do all the rest of the tweaks? So that's something that I think it's a little bit too early for us to answer, because if I have asked the question and it's not been replied about yet. But it was something that I genuinely did want to cover for the review, because I also wanted to pull it open and have a look, and I was told I wasn't allowed. So that's something we're going to have to do at a later date. Now, as I've said, performance was great. Battery was much better than I thought. And the usage of it as well, once you get used to using the different bumpers and the like for once you get into your games, COD, for example, trying to get into the menu to make changes required the bumpers and using the menu button. But once you got your head round how to do the menus with the limited buttons, it really wasn't too much of an issue at all. It's very pleasant to use. I've spent an awful lot of time with it in my hands, mainly with it on battery. So it was in turbo mode, if I'm honest, because it goes in turbo mode when you're on the mains. When you pull it out, it drops down into performance mode. You can go into Armoury Crate to turn it down into like silent mode and stuff. But as I've said, we've done benchmarks for both. We have tested it all as well. One of the clock speed things I did want to talk to you about was during F1 races, we were getting around CPU clocks. We're maxing out around 3.6. I have visually seen it flash up to 4 gigahertz at a couple of times, but never the 5 that was listed. And I haven't been able to get hardware monitor to be able to register anything close to that either. 4 gigahertz for this when powered in was my peak. I've seen nothing close to 5 gigahertz at all. Maybe there's a specific use case where it will get there, but I haven't been able to see it. So overall, it is a very capable unit. I think we're going to see a lot of people or a lot of companies bringing out upgrades so that we can plug these into monitors and maybe even TVs, because at 1080p it is very capable, and it is something that you are going to be able to easily, let's just say, plug into a monitor at work and play in your lunch break or play at your girlfriend's house. Obviously, it is something that you can just play on the move, and they've made it so easy to just take around with you as well. I'm a bit of a novice with this sort of thing, but oh my days, I honestly thought it was going to annoy me much more than it would have done, and it hasn't at all. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it, to the point that it's annoyed me that I've actually really got into playing Forza on this again, because I can just pick it up and play it on my sofa, or when my girlfriend's finally gone to sleep, I get this out and I can play it, and it's just been a delight, much to my sleeping pattern's dismay. So, as I've said, it's £800 at scan for the top end model. I'm going to assume that the majority of you are going to end up with it buying the top end model as well. They do say that, so it's 35 watt peak usage for when it's plugged in. They do say it's 17 watt when you use it on battery. My gaming experience, it's been telling me it's been 25, 26 most of the time. I've never seen it go below 20, so I don't know where that wattage usage is meant to have come from. But I've thoroughly enjoyed having this, and annoyingly, because we don't get to keep things, I'm actually really going to miss it. But make sure you check back, because I am hoping to put some more content live on this. But for now, at least, this has been Tiny Tom Logan with the ROG Ally X Xbox review out.